And we're on, I think.
Hey.
Hello. Let me just check my Facebook page and see if we are. Oh, I've gone and moved off my Facebook page. Well, anyway, welcome. Welcome to you both. It's fantastic to have Jo Spain here from Dublin.
Yeah.
I hope.
Where else would I be?
No, I know you're locked in Dublin at the moment, aren't you? You generally are everywhere but Dublin, as I see it. You're flying around the world doing script writing and stuff, but not for some time, I believe.
No, my first trip was first trip that was cancelled. I was going to Berlin in early March, and they pulled it just because it was with ZDF. And they're really worried about any productions that they were working on, anyone getting contaminated. So that was fine. And then they started falling like dominoes, which, to be fair, was no bad thing because, as you know, William, I hate flying. So I was kind of like, I have to stay in Dublin, do I? Okay. But now my life is being replaced with Zoom and Skype and everything. It's just horrendous.
Hi, Andy. Andy comes, and Andy's been to, I think, every one of these, and he's brilliant. Thanks, Andy.
Hi, Andy.
Yeah, because apart from being a best-selling crime novelist, Jo's also become a very successful scriptwriter, which is generally something people don't necessarily wear those two hats very successfully. But you kind of, it must be about 3 or 4 years ago, you were asked to write a script for one of your books. Is that right, Jo?
Yeah, it was only 2 years ago. I did one I did an original TV show for RTE, and that became a hit. And then I was inundated with requests afterwards, but nobody knows, because nobody ever knows who the scriptwriter is. So it's just an earner. Just something I earn money from.
So it must be exasperating at the moment, because you are really, you've got all this stuff to work on, and presumably it's just a big bottleneck.
Yeah, because what's going to happen is we have a show that was greenlit to go live in the summer, to be filmed in the summer. And that's being postponed, but everything is being postponed. So by the time we're ready to hire all the camera guys and the film crew and all the actors, we're going to be hoping that everybody is available, and everybody's going to be hoping the same thing. So I don't know what we're going to do, but I mean, it's just, there'll be no content on TV next year. I can tell you that much.
No, I mean, what's going to happen? They're going to have to do reruns of your first series taken down all the time.
Forever.
Just endlessly.
Because that was your first one, isn't it? It was an original. I think they'd original. Am I right about this? Because I've talked to you often enough, because we've done bookstores together. But they asked you they're interested in doing your books, but you said you took them something completely different. You took them an original idea. Is that right? Yeah,
I mean, they started off asking about the books because they'd read the books and they liked them. But then they said, do you have any original ideas? And I was like, well, yeah, I can do something original for TV. In hindsight, I should have insisted that we do the books, because then I'd have sold more books. But
you should have insisted they do my books.
Yes. But I'm doing a few authors' books now, actually. So I've gone into that sphere, which is kind of nice, because you feel quite powerful, because you can give books to producers and say, read this, and books that I like that might get to screen then, it doesn't always work, but, sometimes it does.
And are you up until this moment, were you finding doing the two bits of writing? Because I think they're incredibly different. I think how a book works and how a TV series works. I mean, I'm always jealous of TV, because in TV you can just have a camera shot, a bit of doomy music, and everybody knows their tension. We have to work quite hard on that from our end. I may be wrong. I may be misrepresenting script writing, but it must be quite hard. They're different types of writing completely, aren't they?
Completely different. I think the big shock for most authors, and they say to me, can I do this as well? And I'm like, of course you can. Like, if you can write, you can learn any form of writing. But it's not a case of taking your 360-page book and chopping it into 6 60-minute scripts. Like, it's all show, don't tell. So if your detective goes to bed in the nighttime and wakes up in the morning and has the plot solved, that might work on the page, but it certainly won't work on the screen. You're going to have to show how he gets there. But you do have all the additional things, like you've got actors who can convey with just a look what they're thinking, and it would take us 2 pages to write that down. Or you can put the sinister music on and we know this is a scary scene, and they're very hard to write. But then you've also got all the actors telling you what you should have written, and the directors and the producers and the budget people and everybody. So that makes it kind of tough. With your book, it's your own, it's your labor of love, and you've put everything into that, and your editor might have a say, but it is your book. TV is never your show. Never. No, it's a strange world, isn't it? I mean, you must have to, you're working on stuff that might not appear for several years, aren't you? Presumably, once it's gone through 15 different sort of
committees, iterations, and all that stuff.
Yeah, I've been lucky. Everything I've worked on so far has gone very quickly to screen. And even this one I've come in on, I only came in on it in December and they had a filming date of June. But it's because I work so quickly that the word has spread. So whenever they're stuck for a writer on the show and they need 3 or 4 reps done, they'll just say, do you know who can do that? So it means I'm constantly kind of drowning in scripts, but it also means I get paid really well, really quickly. And I'm not in that kind of mill of this will take 5 years to come to fruition, you know?
Yeah, you make it sound very easy, but I know you've worked incredibly hard to get to that place. On another, and you know, Sophie, you're frustrated, presumably in a different level, because you're with something called First Monday. Could you explain what First Monday is to start with?
Yes, so First Monday has been going for, as soon as I say this, all the other First Monday committee are going to jump on and go, what the hell, Sophie? It's been going for longer than that. But I think it's been going for about 5 years. It was originally the brainchild of William Ryan, the author, with Catherine Armstrong and David Headley. And it's sort of had various sort of committees since then. We've all sort of, there've been sort of new people joining. And of course, yes, we were so excited because our first event of the year was meant to be Monday, 6th of April, which we were building up to. We had a brilliant roundup. We had Howard Linsky, we had Fiona Erskine, and Howard, bless him, he's done quite a few specials for us, but we've never managed to get him on beyond a summer or Christmas specials. We're really excited to have him properly. We had Sam Lloyd, whose debut is The Memory Wood, and that was going to be fantastic. And Kate Bradley, who's an exciting debut from Bonnier, and I was going to moderate. So, you know, we were really excited to bring it back, and ticket sales were looking pretty strong. And when this hit, we were all sort of sitting there going, I mean, we might be fine by April. And eventually, you know, a few people contacting us saying, I actually have health conditions, so I'm not going to come anyway. And I think the very idea at this stage of us doing it next week would be just extremely silly. So we were sort of thinking about what we can do instead. You know, so we have a newsletter. Everyone subscribe at firstmondaycrime.com. We have a newsletter that goes out a couple of times a month with, you know, updates on the events. We also try and do book recommendations and run Q&As in the newsletter, so to keep it fun. And we were just sort of brainstorming, and one person said, just sort of casually, by the way, I'm having a film watch along with some friends if anyone wants to join. And I just went, well, that's it. That's what we'll do. And we all got very excited, had squabbles over what the film would be. And so we went with a classic, because they're usually really accessible usually quite accessible on Prime or Google Play for a couple of quid, which, you know, seems like quite a fun thing. And it's obviously not everyone has to join in, but it seems like quite a nice thing to do if we all watch a film together, and we can all sort of tweet along. And some people will have seen it because it's a classic, The Mirror Cracked, and some people won't have. So is there a question?
See what I did there?
Hey, look at that. This is a clever bit of software.
It's a great bit of software, isn't it? I'm loving all that. It makes me feel like I'm in the TV industry myself. You can probably, if you peer really closely, you can see that poster as well. It's amazing. I love the eyeball coming through the cracks there. I've never actually seen it myself, so I might have to watch.
Have you? Oh, do. Yes, it's obviously based on the excellent Agatha Christie. I saw it. I can't remember how I watched it. I think I watched it with my grandmother or something years ago, and I think it was right. You know, I grew up in the David Suchet sort of Poirot days, so I hadn't really properly watched any of these sort of, you know, the Peter Ustinov versions. So it was really exciting for me to see this basic, like, A-list of characters. You know, we've got Rock Hudson, Elizabeth Taylor, of course, Tony Kirk.
Look at that. That's her in the film.
Hey, that is her in the film.
That's magnificent. Now you should feel underdressed.
Yes, now I feel very underdressed. So it should, you know, it was made it's sort of set in the 50s. It was made in the 80s, so it's, you know, a very 80s film. But, you know, it's also, you know, it's also got that very special Miss Marple cozy feel to things. You know, the wickedness is extreme, but it's a really enjoyable film, and it seemed like a nice idea to have a classic for everyone to watch at this confusing time.
Confusing, and also Jo clearly hates it. She's disappeared. Hopefully she'll.
Oh,
where are you now?
no.
Oh, there you are. Where are you? Let me just try and find you again. There you are.
Oh, was I really off-putting?
Yeah, here you go. I'll get rid of Elizabeth Taylor. You can't have Elizabeth Taylor on screen as well. Yeah, no, that's brilliant. I love the fact that people are having to think quite hard about how we connect, because I find I'm actually talking to more people at the moment, for better or worse, because of this situation, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? You're connecting with people everywhere because of it, and you must be the same. I mean, presumably there's still work conversations going on with you two continually through, despite the fact you're at home.
Absolutely, and as you say, I mean, probably you possibly have the same thing, Jo. We're trying very hard to work out, because I'm a publicist when I'm not, you know, on the rare occasions I'm not doing First Monday Crime things, so I'm working with, you know, lots and lots of authors whose summers are suddenly looking quite quiet, and we're putting, you know, real efforts into working out what they can do instead to promote their books. We've got some online launches coming along. Yeah, a lot of work conversations.
And either Jo's gone very still or she's frozen on my screen, but I hope you're still there, Jo. Because, you know, you have a book out at the moment. You've gone, haven't you, Jo? Oh, there you are. You've got a book out at the moment, 6 Wicked Reasons. And you've got another one coming out in June. It's kind of strange, isn't it? Because I'm not quite sure how people are finding these. Here today, all the independent bookshops basically had to put up their shutters. Really sad. I've been talking to them over the last week, and they were all still trying to sell books through online stuff, which was quite a weird experience for them. And now today, Bertram's have said they're not sending out any more books. So it's an interesting thing about how we're going to get books out there, really. Tell us about 6 Wicked Reasons. Anyway, I loved this book. And Jo's, she's gone again. She's gone. I'll say about 6 Wicked Reasons. It's a fantastic kind of locked room book set on the east coast of Ireland in a grand country house. And she's back. Where has she gone? Hold on. She's ready to join the broadcast. Oh, I can hear her. Or is that you?
Oh, that's not me.
No. And what it is there's right at the beginning, you're aware that the sort of head of the household has been killed. But they're all coming back home to have this family celebration because one of the family has who disappeared years ago suddenly miraculously appeared, so that the family all get together to celebrate him. I'm also really now nervous that Jo can hear this and be saying, no, it's not that at all. You've got that completely wrong.
You've got it totally wrong.
But what she gets is a fantastic sense of this little Irish community built around this rather entitled family, who gradually are all tearing themselves apart. And the reasons for the murder gradually become very clear. So even though she's not here, I'd say go and buy this book through whatever means you can do. And those are pretty limited now, sadly. And I'm sure that one that is least limited is doing very well right now for better. Oh, there you are. Here she comes. Oh, did you hear any of that? Did you hear any of that at all, Jo? I was trying to describe the plot of 6 Wicked Reasons. I think I did quite a good job on it.
I want to read it.
But she's only partially with us, so we can talk about her behind her back. She also has coming up. Oh, there you are. Is the connection from Dublin a little flaky? Oh, she's gone again. Poor Jo. I was just. Here it go. Now I'm going to get rid of that one.
Well, 6 Wicked Reasons, the plot really does remind me of another Christie novel called Hercule Poirot.
I know. And absolutely, that's it. It's like that whole new wave of people who I think are taking all that sort of Christie's sense of, which is in a lot of psychological fiction, having a sort of all these characters, and none of them are necessarily nice. But the thing about Jo's writing is actually they're all quite, they're a lot more plausible, I think, than a lot of the characters you get in other types of psychological fiction. And I think that's what makes it really lovely. We spent a long time discussing your work now. You can leave now. We've got it all down.
Here.
We said some terrible...
I can see your faces, but it just keeps going. Bring, 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 bring.
That's such a good impression.
William was saying such nice things. It's such a shame you weren't here for them.
Yeah, I was
Maybe it's
describing them
better.
as works of genius,
Yeah.
and now I'm going to tone it down a little bit. So they're all right.
Did you read from the script I sent you?
Yeah. But we were talking about Six Wicked Reasons in the context of Christie, because it does have a big nod to the classic sort of thing. But what it has, I think that and you know, I think a lot of new writers have. There's a real psychological and you know, almost sociological. I mean, the real world is present in those books in a way that it might not have been quite so in Christie's era, and that's what makes them very special. I think there's a real sense of a real place and a real set of dilemmas that could be part of any families. They're not just these people who you don't really care about. The point with your characters is yes, they've all got despicable sides to them, and I think there's a lot of despicable people being written about in crime fiction, but you kind of begin to care about them.
Hopefully. Otherwise there's just lots of horrible people. And I can always tell who hasn't finished the book, you know, the people who say that do not finish, they're like, oh, they're just all horrible. And I'm like, well, the point is they have arcs, you know, they might present as such a way, but if you read their stories, and I think in Six Wicked Reasons, if you read the book, buy it and read it, you'll find out that they've all been really scarred by this narcissistic father that they have, and you cannot have those people operating within families without leaving deep, dark damage in people's kind of psyches, which I think is the real kind of psychological thriller, because I mean, I read everything like yourselves, and I have read a few psychological thrillers which seem to kind of just be somebody just does something completely unexpected in it, you know, the unreliable narrator, you didn't see that coming. Whereas for me, a psychological crime involves a real examination of the psychological in that person, why they are the way they are, and that is why they do the thing that they do. So for everybody in Six Wicked Reasons, when you go back right to their childhood, you can see that he marks them all differently. He really does damage in very individual ways. He picks the Achilles heel in each of them. So one of them has a semi-eating disorder because he just constantly kept offering her more food and then saying, are you going to eat that? Which is a real passive-aggressive thing, you know. And one of them could never be good enough, and it's just horrible. So somebody was always going to kill him. But the psychological aspect then is who
always going to.
Like, always going. He was going to die, and people love it for that reason, because they most people know somebody like Fraser, you know, so they always
do. And I think there's a lot of that exploration, and it's not just like a 2D. There's a lot of, you know, people are writing about toxic masculinity quite a lot at the moment, and some of it becomes quite 2D. They're just like the bad thing. But I think, you know, it's really nice to see that whole thing of father figures and what they do to a family, you know. And he probably thinks he's fantastic, doesn't he? That's the thing about the character. He thinks he's done everything so brilliantly for these children.
That's the thing with narcissists. Like they have, I was at a psychological lecture a few years ago, and they were saying that they want everybody to join them on their dance floor. They are the sun around which the planets revolve, you know. And when you have somebody that powerfully selfish in your life, and you've grown up with that, it's very hard to know anything other than what you know. And it's only, I think, when you move away from that, and you see them all pull away from the family circle in the book for obvious reasons, it's only when they're on their own as independent people they can see how damaging their childhoods were. But they are very common, those sorts of personalities. And I genuinely, I was shocked at the amount of people contacting me and saying that reminds me of my uncle, my auntie, my mom. So
but you've also got After the Fire, which is your Tom Reynolds series, which I'm hoping is coming out in June, because who knows where schedules are now. I think publishers are really sort of trying to work out themselves what the current shape of it, but we're certainly expecting it then. And this is a sort of series which you kind of, it's kind of where you started, isn't it, Tom Reynolds? But he's been kind of been promoted now as well. I think he's reaching chief inspector at this level, is he? Have I got his rank right?
Yeah, he's chief inspector, and now he's heading up to, oh my goodness, is he superintendent now? All I know is that I promoted him to
chief superintendent. No, I just checked my notes.
Yeah, I inadvertently kept giving him these promotions, which was really problematic. Really good for the stories I was writing, but really problematic at a point, because I promoted him to a rank that doesn't investigate. Whoops.
Now he's stuck behind a desk. Back in the field.
I think I got a little bit Line of Duty focused or something, where I was like, with all the politics internally in the police, and now I've inadvertently made him a kind of administrative bureaucrat. So on this book, After the Fire, he's in this top role and somehow ends up investigating this. I mean, he's really high up in the guards and essentially becoming a private investigator at the same time.
You can do anything. It's fiction. It's fiction.
Yeah, I'm going to take a little break after this one, I think, and have a rethink, because I don't want them to be formulaic anyway.
Right.
I've lost you guys.
You're freezing. I was going to ask you a really interesting question then as well, but you've gone.
What's happening with this computer?
We can hear you.
We can hear her. Yeah.
You're just very still. You've just gone like.
Ooh.
I'm doing my impression of somebody freezing. If
Like
you can still talk. I mean, how's Dublin at the moment? How does it feel out there? Oh, she has lost us. In that case, Sophie, how's London at the moment? I'm in Brighton. How are you?
I'm in West Norwood, South London. So
right.
West Norwood is rainy, but it's quite quiet sometimes. The boy racers appear to really be seizing their moment, which is nice for some. What else is going on here? Yeah, it's just very quiet, except when we're going for our mandated exercise, of course, when everyone else is coming out. We've discovered a massive patch of wild garlic very near our house, which is really exciting, which means that social distancing is much easier because, we've eaten a lot of garlic. But that's
you're foraging in times of great social need. They're starving in West Norwood. They're eating weeds from the soil. But in terms of working on for publishing stuff, it's kind of right, isn't it? The publishing industry, for very good reasons, just trying to work out what's what, doesn't know which way's up, does it? And it won't do. I mean, I'm on the positive side. I think what's amazing, just answering your question before I even give you a chance to answer it yourself, publishing's actually got quite good at changing shape now, hasn't it? I mean, it used to be accused of being this very conservative industry, but it's actually being quite good at adapting to new circumstances. It's just having to do it very, very quickly right now.
I think so, yes. I mean, so it's sort of conservative in some ways, but I think in this situation, I feel that people have been, we're also working with an industry which is quite flexible. Authors have just generally all sort of leapt into action, and everyone's very understanding that these are completely unprecedented times. We've had to think in a way. I was talking to somebody last week who was another publishing colleague who was saying that in a way she's been pushing for sort of more online adventures and launches for ages, and now she's sort of delighted that she can finally enact some of these visions she's had, and we're all like, our parties have been cancelled. And she's like, yes, I know, but just think of all the things we can do with marketing. And that's really, my party has been cancelled. But, her positivity is, she's absolutely right. And I think we have done our best to rise to the challenge. I mean, working from home is new. But we've got an author publishing a book on Thursday. Her name is Monique Roffey. And she will be doing a Twitter Q&A with the poet Nikita Gill, which is fairly new for all of us. It's new for the authors. It's new for me to try and organise. So it's that sort of thing. That's sort of quite a small thing. But on the other hand, some of my colleagues who were doing the PR for the Rathbones Folio Prize last week, they organised just the most impressive streamed prize ceremony that just. And they put that together in about a week and a half, because it was cancelled pretty much when we had to move home. So they had to scrabble around really quickly to work out how on earth they were going to have this prize ceremony. It was meant to be at the British Library.
But I'd love to have it go to a prize ceremony in the British Library. But I'm quite liking this idea in lots of ways, because I think maybe. I don't know, I'm always ludicrously optimistic that actually this makes access to this stuff a lot easier for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe it is slightly democratizing it and taking it away from the literary establishment, actually, if you can get all stuff online. So who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, we've got, there are a few prize ceremonies coming up in the year, and we know that we have to be quite flexible in the way we think about them, because we could be in the wonderful position of being back to normal. But then, as you say, it does give us, there is scope to not just sort of go back to how we've always done things and think about how it has become more democratic. So, lots to think about.
Just while we're talking about Agatha Christie, I don't know if you can see Sven's picture there, but he's there with David Suchet.
Oh, so he is.
Yeah, so there you go. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And he's being Poirot.
Anyway, Poirot.
Yeah. And but actually, before you answer his question there, Joe, how's Dublin feel at the moment?
I mean, we're quite relaxed anyway. Irish people, like, even when this started, like, the amount of humor on Twitter and Facebook and people just kind of, like, everybody's feeling, if you're on your own or if you have small kids, I think people are feeling the strain. Like, we're homeschooling 4 at the moment and it's a nightmare. Somebody said to me, you must have lots of time to write. And I was like, I have no time. Like, my early part of my day is now spent on helping my husband homeschool. And then I'm trying to squeeze in writing afterwards, because they're here all the time. And then even when they're not in school, you're trying to entertain them because you can't just let them go out and play or bring them to the pool or do their after school clubs, But in general, I mean, we're allowed to do our daily, we're gone like you guys now, we can do a daily bit of exercise. But outside of that, everything is shut down by the supermarkets and chemists. But I don't know if we're just kind of funny, that nobody's particularly phased. We're having drink parties online, and actually I'm on Ireland's biggest book club, the Ricochet book club. I did one of these the other night on that, and he's doing kind of interviewing authors from their homes, and everyone's saying this is great. We can see people's houses, and they're like, here you can see my drink cabinet.
Yeah,
see my front door. That's just how small my flat is.
Yeah, what's behind me? Oh, look, there's a cuckoo clock. Oh well,
a charming bookshelf.
Yeah, very, very. I actually moved the computer here to make it look more erudite. But I have a bookshelf behind me.
See my fridge. Yeah.
You're gonna if I move this camera around, you'll be able to see my laundry.
Yeah. That's keeping it real, Joe.
I don't know what's on it though, so I'm not gonna just go downhill very quickly.
But anyway, Sven asked which of your books is best to start with. I mean, I don't know, which would you recommend?
I think if you're into series, like a detective series, go right to the start of the Tom books and start with Our Blessing, because even while each case is standalone, the characters come on, detective lives advance. Obviously, I promote them to non-existence by the end. So start with Our Blessing. But if you're into standalone books that you can pick up and leave down, I've done a few of them, and Six Wicked Reasons is just out. But actually, my favourite is Dirty Little Secrets. The paperback of that is due out in May. Who knows?
Yeah,
get it
quite
online.
soon.
So either of those, I think.
Great. And hold on, I've got a comment here from Rosie. Hold on, who's coming on the show tomorrow. Rosie's with Cambridgeshire Libraries, and I'm trying to get librarians involved as well, because I think there's a lot of digital stuff in libraries that people who don't go to libraries don't really know about, and will probably be quite interested in that. She's going to be on tomorrow, and I said to her, who would you like to be on with? And she said Anne Cleeves. So I called up Anne Cleeves, and she said, okay. So we're on with Anne Cleeves and Rosie tomorrow, which will be brilliant.
Brilliant.
And so all suggestions gratefully received. And Caroline totally agrees. There is no space to think. The days just go. I mean, I know it's just bonkers, isn't it? I'm busier than I've ever been, it feels like. And
how did I ever have time to leave the house?
Yeah.
What was I doing with all that time? I'm reading so slowly because I don't have a 45-minute commute anymore. It's really,
and I think the kids at home thing is really, really,
and I don't have kids
really
at home.
hard.
Because
that is, and it must be mad for them as well. Kids at that age are not really into staying within 4 walls. I mean, why would they?
Yeah, they're completely head-wrecking. I think I've had at least 3 too many kids.
I did see a brilliant tweet the other week. Somebody saying, hypothetically, how hard is it to expel homeschooled children?
She's touching her head. Yeah, I don't know what's happening. Ireland's been very hard to connect with, or whether it's just North Dublin is hard to connect with. But I'm going to, wrap it up fairly soon. Like I said, on Tuesday, we've got Anne Cleeves. On Wednesday, I'm interviewing a guy called Adam Higginbottom. Did anybody read Midnight at Chernobyl?
No, but I feel like I should have.
It was that non-fiction book. It's one of the best-selling non-fiction books of last year. The one that the series wasn't based on. There were 2 books came out, and actually it was sort of top of the. Oh, she's gone.
Oh, she doesn't like Chernobyl books at all.
No, but Adam will be on, and it's a really fantastic non-fiction book. So, but I don't know whether talking about something disastrous happening is the right time to be doing that, but I'm going to do anyway because.
But you have to.
I have to.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to get Jo back just for a second to say proper goodbyes.
Goodbye. Oh.
She's going to be blue for a little while, I think. Oh no, there she is. So yes, you're back.
The internet is so bad.
I think they are trying to choke it all, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because there's too many of us trying to speak to each other.
Oh.
I think it's my kids on all their tabs and Xboxes. I think our house has killed the internet.
That probably is it, isn't it? Yeah, I'd like to think that we're so successful. Everybody on the internet is actually now rushed towards my Facebook page because
I reckon so.
Yeah. This is. But thanks so much for spending some time with me. And my cup of tea has been a delightful one today. And hopefully see you both soon.
Yes,
very, very good luck with First Monday.
Thank you.
I hope it goes well tonight. I'll join you on Twitter tonight.
Excellent.
And brilliant to speak to you, Jo. It's always fun. And when you're there, oh, you're back. Oh, she's gone.
Yes.
I'm just going.
He was just saying it was nice to speak to you.
You do that a lot.
Oh yes, best conversation ever.
But edited by I don't know.
Keeps us on our toes. It's important.
Yeah. So goodbye, all. I'll let
Thanks
you get
so
back
much
to your
for having
various
us.
bits of chaos. And thank you so much. And thanks everybody for tuning in as well.
Thanks for having us, William.
Thanks for having
All the
us.
best. Bye, all.
Bye.